Let's keep it real. Asta and Yuno's rivalry gets massively overlooked, massively underrated, and doesn't get the same type of love and affection that a lot of other classic rivalries in anime and manga have gotten, even in some of its contemporaries. Okay, people, make sure you hit that subscribe and that bell to get more Black Clover greatness, baby. It's all sorts of stuff that we talk about here on ForneverWorld, so highly encourage you, hit them bells.
No matter how you move, get it done. No matter how you move, get it done. No matter how you move, get it done. No matter how you move, get it done.
There's some legendary rivalries out there, right? You got the Narutos and Sasuke's, you got the Guts and Griffith, you got the Gokus and Vegetas. Those are some classic rivalries, and they get the admiration, love, and respect that they rightfully so deserve. However, a lot of people, when it comes to Black Clover, a new gen, a newbie, so to speak, even though it's technically already a vet like 8 years deep, ultimately, a lot of people always look at it as, it's alright, I don't like it. It's not on the level of like a Naruto and a Sasuke, despite the fact that some of its contemporaries also are not on that level either. Like, you could say Deku and Bakugo's rivalry was kind of dope, and it is dope, but it definitely still doesn't outshine a Guts and Griffith or a Goku and Vegeta. Like, it's still a really dope rivalry, but not on that level. And by no means am I trying to single out that rivalry in particular, but I want to definitely say something about Asta and Yuno's rivalry that isn't said often and absolutely needs to be said, because we need to put some respect on that Black Clover greatness, especially this type of rivalry. So a lot of people watch anime and manga, and they oftentimes really enjoy and appreciate the lessons that they get from it. You know, camaraderie, friendship, working together, being peaceful, fighting for a greater day, a better cause, all of that good stuff. And yet, oftentimes when people walk away from it, they don't necessarily believe in that. And I feel like anime and manga fans oftentimes be rooting for something and saying it's so great, but in actuality, they don't really care, and they show they don't really care. Because one of the things about some of those rivalries, in fact, all three of the big ones that I mentioned of Guts, Griffith, Naruto, Sasuke, and Goku and Vegeta, especially early on with them, maybe Goku and Vegeta has changed over time, but the biggest aspect that made those rivalries quote-unquote great is the levels of toxicity that you got from them. I mean, dog, Guts and Griffith's rivalry is based off of some of the most horrendous things that can be done to a person. Griffith literally mind destroyed Guts, did horrible things to Guts' woman, made Guts lose an eye. Like, Griffith did the most disturbing things to a man that you could possibly think of, and then some. So yeah, I would definitely say that their rivalry is rooted in something even beyond toxicity. Then Naruto and Sasuke, up until pretty much the damn near end of the series, their whole rivalry was also toxic. For starters, Sasuke looking down on Naruto, you ain't on my level, you a pipsqueak. And then when he started to reach it, it's like, this piece of shit, how did he get to my level? He doesn't belong here, get him out of here. And with everything Sasuke went through, and Naruto Shippuden, eventually at certain points, he was trying to kill Naruto to completely sever that bond, and again, that's very extremely insanely toxic. And while Dragon Ball Super shows a beautiful relationship between Goku and Vegeta, you already know it wasn't always like that. It wasn't until pretty much the end of the Buu saga, pretty much the end of Z, the original run Dragon Ball's manga, that Vegeta finally said, you know what, I gotta be mature and say Kakarot's better than me. But nevertheless, Vegeta was trying to kill Goku. In fact, in the Majin Vegeta stuff, he did some of the most disrespectful things, where he's like slapping Goku in the face and, you know, talking shit like, you've assaulted my pride. Like, it was extremely toxic for a long time. And if you even cut over to, again, one of the contemporaries to Black Clover, My Hero Academia, Deku and Bakugo's relationship up until, I don't know, maybe 100 so chapters ago, might even be 150, but it was extremely toxic. It was basically Bakugo was Deku's bully. He bullied the living crap out of him, and then eventually got a kind heart and realized, oh shit, I was a piece of crap for what I did. That's not heroic at all. And it wasn't until Deku actually proved himself that even Bakugo was able to come to that realization. However, with Black Clover, one of the things that is really special about the rivalry between Yuno and Asta is they're literally on some true sportsman-esque type of vibe. It's a friendly competition through and through. Like, Asta, if something happens to him, Yuno's gonna drop whatever he's doing and go and help his mans, because, yo dog, that's my mans. We trying to both be king, absolutely, but I don't want to see nothing bad happen to him. That's like a bro to me. And that's so much of a breath of fresh air, and if anything, something that people should strive for. If anything, that should be the goal of, yo dog, a friendly competition to the top. Like, yeah, Asta sometimes gets a little bit annoyed that, damn, this gifted motherfucker. He's able to rise to these occasions and all that jazz, and vice versa. Yuno's just like, yo, dog, that hard work that he has is something that I can't even fathom the type of heart he got to do those things. But it's always rooted in a beautiful place that, again, we oftentimes say we like to see, but when it actually is in front of our faces, we go, no, we want the toxic one. We want to see the dude getting his eyes ripped out after he just seen his girl getting massaged down, you know where. Likewise with Naruto and Sasuke, like, you loved it when Sasuke was talking about killing and doing all of these crazy things. He tried to go after Sakura. He was doing menace type of things. And don't even front, absolutely you loved when Goku and Vegeta were fighting to the death. You just did. I mean, Vegeta crying out loud even on Namek, now that I think about it, was like torturing Krillin and Gohan and doing everything, just a mischievous kind of guy. And just because a rivalry is friendly, that doesn't take away from the fact that it has its own intricacies and their own development on each side of things. On Asta's side, you've seen time and time again, he has developed, and you got to imagine that, of course, that would push Yuno to be better. When Asta got a new form, Yuno was like, oh snap, I need to get a new form. I can't fall behind. So friendly doesn't necessarily mean that there's not going to be a competitive nature to it either. I think if anything, that also allows for the characters to kind of focus in on their own character arcs without constantly having to be disrupted by the fact of, hey, what is the other guy doing? Admittedly, while I loved the dualities of Naruto and Sasuke, you have to admit certain aspects of Naruto's dreams and goals kind of took a back seat for certain parts of the story when he was chasing after Sasuke. There was times where I even questioned myself, like, is Naruto still thinking about wanting to become Hokage as he was chasing Sasuke, as he was falling in the snow because he couldn't accept the fact that everybody pretty much wanted Sasuke dead? It was that character rivalry and the toxicity of it that kind of sometimes would subtract from Naruto and kind of seeing where his character goes. If Kishimoto maybe decided to do something different and said, hey, you know what, instead of him focusing so much on getting Sasuke back and this toxic nature of their relationship, maybe we could have gotten points where the story could have even progressed to seeing aspects of, yo, what would have happened if Naruto became a Chunin and a Jonin and had his own crew? Like, that actually would have been a valid thing. In fact, even with the toxicity of it between Naruto and Sasuke, that's still an element that we could have actually seen that Black Clover 100% delivers. For example, we've seen now Yuno rise up the ranks where Sasuke and Naruto pretty much, Sasuke became a villain, Naruto stood in eternal Genin until he's magically Hokage, and Boruto, we've seen he went up the ranks. He's now vice captain of one of the biggest crews in the kingdom, the Golden Dawn, while Asta has also risen up and in fact helped his entire squad, the Black Bulls that were like negative something stars in the beginning of the story, suddenly managed to rise up the ranks thanks to, again, Asta being a part of it and seeing his character development alongside the Black Bulls. We got to see camaraderie in so many different avenues because these characters weren't toxic with each other. If Asta had a hatred or a rescue mission that he had with Yuno, we might not see him with the camaraderie that he has with Magna or the, happy-go-lucky stuff that he has with the battles against Luck, although Luck isn't really looking at it that way. The romance aspects, like, all of those things would be non and void because he would be focusing in on, again, rescuing, toxicity, hatred, anger, sadness, all of that stuff. It allows Asta to focus in on his own goals and pretty much him truly wanting to be what he set out to be without distractions. You could argue that the toxic nature of a relationship of like Guts and Griffith is so toxic that maybe if it wasn't in that vein, somebody like Griffith would have eventually accomplished his goals without having to make that disgusting and dark sacrifice. Maybe if Vegeta wasn't so focused in on Goku, he probably would even be happier. He probably wouldn't even care about, I must surpass, I must become. Like, granted, it did give him the strength to keep on going, but imagine if Vegeta never really even ran into Goku or never even really cared about this rivalry. He might have been fine going off to the corner of the universe or the corner of a galaxy somewhere and just enjoying life. After being freed from Frieza, he might have been like, you know what? I think I'm good. I'm kind of happy. I'm content. But because he obtained that hatred and that, wanting desperately to surpass Kakarot for the longest time, it kind of almost encaged him in suffering. The fact that Asta and Yuno's relationship isn't in that negative vein allows both of these characters to almost feel free. While there's bigger threats around this whole situation, of course, again, like what we've seen with the Spade Nation, the elves, all of that stuff, it allows these characters to focus in on the problems around them and not just on on each other. That's not to say again that any of these other relationships are any less valid. It's just a different vibe, a different perspective, and again, something that people don't like to shine a light on with Black Clover is that it is doing things different. You may not like it, it may be for better or worse, but nevertheless, camaraderie and true sportsmanship through and through is constantly displayed. But those are the elements that made you love those rivalries, the toxicity of it, the hatred, the oh my god, I'm gonna kill you. And while that makes for great entertainment, if you're looking for some valuable lessons, if you're looking for something that is going to teach you how to be an awesome person, if anything, their rivalry, Asta and Yuno's, is the strongest, because it shows that no matter how tough it is, no matter how much that Yuno surpasses Asta and leaves him quote unquote behind, and vice versa, they never once were thinking, yo, I want this dude to die. I'll take him out right now, because they kind of are having a friendly rivalry to the top. And if anything, that's far more valuable of a type of rivalry than the others. Could you argue that, yo, they're more interesting? Maybe, depending on how you look at life. I find it to be fascinating that this rivalry decided to break the mold of, hey, I want to kill you, hey, I don't like you, to, yo, you my bro, I'm gonna make fun of you, but I want to see you win. We're gonna both win, and we'll just see who is the best man at the end. It doesn't have to lead to killing. It doesn't have to lead to hatred. It doesn't have to lead to somebody leaving the village and hurting the other one. Like, it doesn't have to do any of that stuff. It stands on its own and being a true show of sportsmanship. You know, something that everybody claims they like to see, but when they see it right in front of their eyes, they downrate it, downgrade it, and say, that's not really cool. And honestly, that's why Black Clover's rivalry, in my opinion, is one of the most dopest that you're gonna get, and especially contemporary, but let alone in general, shonen manga. They don't want to see each other hurt. If anything, they want to help each other rise to the occasion, and that's really cool, because you're still going to have the struggles and strife in the series. It's not like the entire series revolves around, hey, I like you, hey, I like you, hey, you're awesome, hey, you're awesome too. Like, they also talk some smack or whatnot, but you're still going to get massive battles. You're still going to have villains. Like, the whole point of the show is, hello, it's a battle series. You're going to fight giant strong demons and villains and all sorts of stuff. Like, that's not gonna be absent from the series. It's just a certain aspect that people are normally accustomed to seeing in a toxic light isn't toxic, and I think there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, it's a breath of fresh air from the norm of, why do the friends gotta hate each other? Why do the friends gotta be toxic? And then maybe at some given point they finally reconcile and move forward in another series that we may or may not get. Black Clover off rip was showcasing that, yo, they rocked with each other. There may have been some misunderstandings, but it was never anything that was toxic and ugly. And honestly, Asta and Yuno's rivalry might be one of the most fresh rivalries that you're gonna get in Shonen Jump, because yeah, it's different. For everything that people say, Black Clover copies this, Black Clover copies that, it may take a little bit of the structure. It may look at the blueprint and be like, oh, I like that. But Yuki Tabata says, I like that, but instead of they went right and up, I'm going left and down, left, right, X, Y, Z, blah, 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 blah. He changes it up, and that's what I love. Like, if you're going to be inspired, if you're going to look at something and say, man, I like what they're doing here, make sure you know, like they say, copy homework, just change it up a little bit, but even more so than that, go a whole different direction. Be a revolutionary. I would love to see more of these sportsmanship-like rivalries in anime and manga. Everything doesn't always need to be toxic. There's going to be a million toxic elements surrounding the series anyways, because there gotta be bad guys. There has to be antagonists regardless. Why does the antagonist have to be the best friend? I mean, for crying out loud, you know, Yuji and Toto are friends, and I'm sure there's a rivalry in Jujutsu Kaisen, but for the most part, I'm liking that. It seems as though with contemporary shonen, with Black Clover on, we might be seeing the end of the toxic friendship and seeing what true friendship can look like. True rivalries, true camaraderie is like, we both want to win, but we also love each other. We also care about each other. And that's golden, and that's something different that people say, again, Black Clover is a ripoff of all of these things, but you want to kind of turn the blind eye when something like this pops up, huh? Let me know what you guys think about this whole situation. Do you think that Black Clover has one of the most freshest rivalries that you've seen in recent times in shonen anime and manga? Do you think that, considering the fact that most rivalries are basically rooted in hatred and all sorts of stuff in anime, that Black Clover going in that different direction showcases that? They talk about it being a copycat, but look what it's doing over here. It's actually a lot fresher than you think. And are there any other rivalries that kind of remind you of Asta's and Yuno's that isn't just straight up absolutely nastiness that you get from some of the others? Like, personally, I like the idea of moving forward. There's going to be threats, there's going to be villains, there's going to be conflict no matter what, but let's leave it in home a little more peaceful of, friends don't gotta hate each other, they're friends. That's all I have for this one. I'm ForneverWorld, and as always, people, have an awesome day, and remember the golden rule: anime and manga.
For life, boy.
Have an awesome day. Peace in and shout outs to Asta. You know, they may hate on you, they may shit on you, but Fornev Dog is always going to be there to show them what's good.
So just go to Fornever.